Welcome back to episode 5 in this series. We are building a FlutterFlow application using Supabase as the backend. We're building a goals tracking app within this series. Now in this particular episode, we are going to be getting our hands dirty and building out the UI to the screen that the user will arrive on once they've been authenticated. The previous video focused on getting the authentication up and running with inside Supabase, and this one is going to be very much about building that UI screen where the goals will be listed within inside the application. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So let's focus our attention on building the homepage screen. This is the first screen that users will see as soon as they're signed in. They'll be directed to this page and it's going to display all of the goals that they've got created within inside the database. As you can see here at the top here, we've got our row that kind of is our head of our application. And then just below that, we've got a list view that contains independent containers that will then display each and every goal and obviously the properties that are related to each of the goals themselves. And just at the bottom here, we've got a fan button. Of course, when you actually hit that, a bottom bar will be displayed, which will then allow the user to actually create a goal within inside the application. So let's focus on building this screen out. And of course, there will be some more bells and whistles that will put onto this screen as the series develops, but we'll at least get this set up ready for us then to hook into Supabase to then pull those goals into the application. So just remember then, if you want to start from this particular point within inside the application build, please do check the link in the description and there'll be a link there for you to clone this particular project. Please remember as well though that when you actually then clone that project, you'll also need to make sure that you just go into the settings here and you're going to need to make sure that you set up your API URL and your anonymous key from the previous videos we did when we set up our Supabase project. Just make sure you put yours in there as well, because the clone project won't have that, and every time you do clone a version of this project, it won't include that in there. So just make sure that you pull that in. So let's move back to the UI builder then, to the widget tree should I say, and now let's start now focusing on building the homepage out. So just select homepage here on the left hand side. You can see here that we've got nothing else in our page whatsoever. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is add a container in. So just choose the little plus there and let's just choose container. And then within inside our container, we also need to make sure that we then put a column in there as well. Okay, so going back to the container, we're just going to want to stretch this container out to be the full width and height of our application. So let's now go over to where it says width there, just change that and just click on the little infinity option there. That stretches it right out to the full width of the UI. And then of course we just need to do the same thing for the height. And with inside the fill color for the secondary background, let's just clear that color because we don't need to set a color on our container because the background already contains the base color for our application. So that's everything set with inside our container. Now with inside the column as well, we now need to start working on that as well. So the first thing that we're going to want to do in our vertically stacked column is we're going to want to add a row in. Okay, so that row is going to be the header of our application. So just choose a row. So it's going to kind of be like a bit like an app bar really, but we're going to sort of customize it ourselves. So with the row, the first one that we're going to put in there, okay, just hit the little plus here, is going to be our Lottie animation. This is the little goals animation that we got at the top left. So just choose Lottie and choose Lottie animation. We'll come back and we'll sort the properties out of this in a second. Next up, we need to hit the little plus there and we're going to put a text in there as well. That's going to be it's going to say my goals, which is the title of our application. And we're going to hit a plus as well. And we're also going to choose the icon button here. So just do a search for icon and then choose icon button. And then we're just going to right click and we're just going to duplicate that widget as well. So we've got two icon buttons. We'll go and sort those out in just a second. So moving back over to the Lottie animation, let's make some changes to our properties on the right hand side. So where it says width of 150, let's change that to 70. And on the height, let's just change that to 70. With inside our animation source, just select that and then choose asset. Now of course we've already got the target icon already loaded with inside our project, so let's just choose target icon. And then where it says animation type, we're going to want to change this and we're just going to want to say once. Okay, we're going to keep auto animate selected, so when this page loads for the very first time, the animation will play just once, and then when we then kick off events with inside our application, we'll then make a call into the Lottie animation to then play its little animation. Okay, so we'll do that as more of a finishing touch a little bit later. So that's that then. Let's now move over to the text. So we just need to set the widget styling. So we have a style that's already set for this. So just choose a text style heading, and it just makes it it kind of makes it a little bit too large, actually, the text style heading that we've got here. So we just need to drop the size down. So just down the font size there, just choose 24. And we might just lose the padding actually of 16 to the left-hand side there. I don't actually think we're going to need that there. So that means our text style is now set for our heading. We're just going to now focus on these icon buttons as well. So let's now work on those. Now we're going to need to make a few changes to our icon that we've got selected down here. So let's just choose the icon, and we're going to do, we're just going to keeping with our application, just put a sign out option there. So just select this particular one here. So I'm just going to choose log out there, and then just choose log out as a icon there. And then on this particular one, we're going to make this one a filter type icon. So just type in filter, and then you should find one that looks just something like this here, filter list rounded. Or we can have that one there, filter list up the top right. There we go. That's perfect for us. We just want to drop the size of these icons down a little bit because they do look a little bit large. So let's just drop that down to 24, and let's just select that particular icon there and drop that down to 24. So I think that is looking pretty good for our icons for the moment. We might need to just come back and pad those out a little bit later, but that looks pretty good for our application. So with inside the text here, we're just going to quickly change that. Instead of it saying hello world, just going to say my goals, like that, and that should be everything that we need in our header at this moment in time. So let's now work on the next part of the application that's just below. So let's now create a column within inside a column. So just choose the little column there and hit the little plus here and just choose column. And we're going to want to call this column goals column. So just up the top right there, just rename it, just hit the little tick box there, and we're all good. Now we need to make some changes to the properties of the parent column. Okay, so just choose parent, because we're going to want to set everything up that falls within inside it, just to make sure it's got the right setup. So on the right hand side, we want to actually mark this column to be scrollable. This will be the primary scrolling column within inside our application. So as we add more and more goals to our application within inside the list view that we're going to create in a moment, the goals will actually fall off the screen once there's more than what the screen can hold. So that's going to be the scrollable column within inside our application. The list view is not going to be doing the scrolling for us. Okay, so by saying primary, it means that is now the primary scrolling. And then on the cross-axis alignment, we just now need to shift everything over to the start of the column. So you can see here the main axis is pushing everything up the top. This one here is just pushing everything over to the left hand side. So everything that falls within inside this particular column will be positioned to the top left. So now we need to now add our list view now. So within our goals column, just hit the little plus here. Let's just choose a list view. So just choose the list view here. And within inside the right hand side, let's just turn off that primary, because we've already selected it to be on our column that we did just a moment ago. And I think that is everything that we need at this moment in time. So what I'll do now is we'll go in now into the list view, and we'll start now building out the goals container that's going to sit within inside there. So just looking at the final application here, this is the section that we're going to now focus our attention on, is this particular panel. Don't worry about this panel, because this is a repeat of this particular one here. But you can see here that we've got like this container, this white container, and within inside that container we have a column, because everything is vertically stacked. Within inside that column we've got a number of rows which contain text, and then we've got this one here which is a progress bar, and then that progress bar over the top of it has another sort of container with some text in. Now they are situated within inside a stack, because a stack allows you to sort of overlay widgets on top of each other. So we're going to build that out very shortly. And then just down on this particular row here, we've just got a simple icon. We've got the number of tasks and how many is completed that's represented in this particular piece of text here. And then we've got another icon then with the date of the actual goal when it's created. So let's now build this out. We're not going to worry about this little bar that runs along here. That we're going to come back in a later video and introduce that into the UI, but let's focus on getting this fleshed out right now. So let's do that. So back in the widget tree, then let's now start making some changes to the UI. So we're inside the goals column, just choose that. And we're just going to give this some padding. Okay, so just put 16 in here and just hit the little lock. That just locks everything in around even all of the directions of the actual column itself. Now within inside the list view, just hit the little plus here. Let's add a container in, and let's now rename that container to goals container. So just say goals container, just hit that there. And within our styling, we just want to choose a theme style and just choose that, and we're going to say container primary. So just choose that, and we know that we've now got the correct styling that's associated with our our parent container that's going to contain everything that we need. So just by clicking away, you won't see it yet, but when we start actually adding in widgets in here, you'll start to see the style take shape. So within inside the goals container, let's now add another column in. So just choose a column, and we're going to want to give this a column a name as well. So let's just call this one goal details column, like that. Just hit the little tick there, and we're inside the goal details column. Now let's start adding the applicable rows. So the first one that we're going to add in is a row, and we're just going to rename this row to a title row. So just select up here and say title, title row, like that. Just hit the little tick there. Now inside this title row, we actually then now have a column, and within inside this column we have further 2 rows. So just choose that and choose row, and within inside this first row we're going to include some text, and then we're going to click on this particular column again. Let's just add another row in, and then we're just also then going to choose the new row and then just choose text. So we've got our 2 text widgets that we need in there for our goal title and our goal description. So let's now style those up. So let's commence in with some formatting then of our title row. So if you just choose title row here on the left hand side, now this is obviously the kind of the grouping of our title for our goal and our description. So let's give that some formatting. Let's on the right hand side here, let's just sort some padding out here. So 16 from the left, 16 from the top, and then 16 from the right. That just brings it off of the edge. Now let's then look at the actual column itself. So I think we need to actually do some alignment here. So let's just push everything up to the top there. So it's just sort of pushes everything to the top left of the actual row itself. And now within inside our actual formatting of our text, so if you just choose text there, this is the actual title itself. Let's give this a formatting of title small here. That's good there. I don't think we needed to change anything there. And now just choose the description, which is going to be this text down here. Let's change the actual font style to be then a body small. So it's just slightly smaller, and our primary text is going to be the secondary text. So it just gives it that sort of slight grey look. We also want to change the line height as well. So just put 1.4 in here. And what that will mean is that when this then wraps to a second row, if the description is quite large, then you'll see a slightly more gap between both rows. It just makes it look a little bit more pleasing to read with inside the user interface. So let's now select the column here on the left hand side. Now let's expand that column out to the full width there, and we also then need to go into the actual text themselves, and we also then need to press the expansion against the text. So do that for both of these, and the reason why we do that is because if we don't expand, then what will happen is if the text then becomes too large for the row, it then will not then wrap. Okay, so by doing this, it means that the text will then wrap to a second line instead of it just disappearing as a boundary error off the side of our UI. So that's everything set up now with inside our title row. We can come back and we can make some further adjustments to that when we need to. So now let's move on to then the next part, which is the progress bar just below. So let's move over to the goal details column. Just select that and hit the little plus there. Let's now add a container. Now with inside our container, we're just going to want to take off the width and the height. We just also want to take off the fill color. Let's clear the fill color. We're not interested in that. Just hit clear color. So that's everything that we need now. And of course, it's going to look a little bit odd with inside the UI, but we're now going to put the progress bar in that as well. So just hit the little plus on the container. We're going to choose and search for progress bar. Now you're going to see a circular looking progress bar. We're going to want to change that from circular to linear on the right hand side. Let's just take off the width and the width there, but let's put the thickness as a 5. So it's just going to make it a nice, very, very narrow sort of height actually that we want on our progress bar. And the end radius we're just going to choose as 5. So this will just give us some nice sort of circular kind of edges to be more in keeping for our application. And then the text down here, let's just remove the text. We don't want to display any text, and that should be everything that we need set up on our progress bar for the time being. Now we also now want to move on now and now wrap the progress bar with a stack, because we're going to want to put another container on there which is going to display the percentage. So let's do that now. So let's now right click on the progress bar. Let's just say wrap widget, and we're going to wrap with a stack. Now you won't see anything visually different with inside the UI builder at this particular stage, but what we're going to do is now include a new container here. So just press the plus, let's hit container, and we're going to have this rather large container that's going to look somewhat overlaid with the progress bar. So let's make some changes to the dimensions of the container now. So on the right hand side here, where we've got width 100, let's make a little change here. So let's just make that 40, and then on the height let's just make that 25, like that. And then just further down we're going to want to change the border radius to then 16, so just gives it that sort of rounded edges. And with inside the border color, just select that where it says unset, and let's turn that to be accent 3, so just a slightly lighter gray with inside the actual border color itself. So let's now position the actual container. So let's just move over to the stack itself. Let's now just literally press the little row there, and then press the little row there, and you'll see that now our actual child element is now positioned nicely centered with inside the stack as well, and it overlays quite nicely there with our progress bar. If I just click away, you'll get an idea there of what's going on. So let's just do some little bit of formatting here with our container. You can see it's going right to the edges here. We just need to make some adjustments. So just with the container selected, let's just choose 10 from the left. Let's choose 10 from the right. And then at the top, just choose 5. And then from the bottom, just choose 5. So you can see that that's now nicely spaced out from within inside the panel itself. So let's now add some text with inside this particular container here. So just down on the container here, just hit the little plus here. Let's hit text, and then we're just going to want to then make some changes to the theme text style. So just choose that and choose a body small here, and let's move down here and put a font size of 10 in. And just to replicate what the UI will be doing, let's just put something small in. Instead of saying hello world, let's just put, say, 50% in. This will then mean that when we now do the positioning of like the centering with inside the container, you'll then get a proper representation of that. If you just kept hello world in there when you try centering it, then you wouldn't have seen anything visually different with inside the container. So if I just scroll down here, in fact I could go to the container itself, sorry, just scroll down, and then you can see we've got the child and the horizontal and vertical. If you just choose a little 0 there and a little 0 there, you can see that everything is now nicely centered. If I just kept hello world in there, you wouldn't have seen that centering occur. So that sets us up from a style perspective very, very nicely for when we then start binding all of these fields to the data that comes back from Supabase. So we now need to focus on the next row that's just below. So let's now start doing that now. So let's get ourselves ready then. So let's just collapse down some of these previous widgets that we don't need, so like title row and just container. Let's just collapse those down. Just gives us a little bit more room now to create our next row. So just hit the little plus there against gold details column. Let's add in a row. So just choose row, and then we're also then going to give this row a name. So let's just call this task footer details row. Just hit the little tick there, and then with inside this we're probably going to want to just adjust some padding here on the left hand side. So just choose 16 there, just choose 16 there, and let's just give this one perhaps just a height of say 4 there, and of course maybe at the bottom just a further 16 just to push it off of the bottom. We can make some minor adjustments to this later if it's not quite what we're looking for. So within the task footer details row, hit the little plus. So if you recall, in our row we've got an icon with some text, and then we've got some icon and then with some text. Okay, so the first icon that we're going to add is going to be the little tasks icon that we had. So just choose that, and on the left hand side just choose the icon size as 16, and we're just going to set the actual icon itself. So let's have a look for one called task. Okay, not what we want. Let's choose font awesome. There we go. That looks like a little task list. So just choose that. And then we're also going to want to change the icon color. So just choose that to be secondary text. So it just gives it that little gray look. And then the icon, we're probably going to want to put a little bit of padding on the right hand side, so it pushes our text slightly away, that we're going to now add. So just hit the little plus there. Let's add the text in, and we're going to just rename this to say task counters text. Just hit the little tick there, and we're just going to reduce the size of the text to body small, like that. And then we are going to want to choose the expansion to go right across, and you'll see why that's important in a minute. It's going to push our icon and our text that's going to be after it to that particular side as well. So now let's just add in the next one. So just hit the little plus here. Let's add in another icon. And then within inside this icon, just choose the size of 16. Let's change the icon color to be the secondary text color. And the icon, we're just going to change the setting to look like a calendar. So just find a calendar icon that's suitable. So maybe just that one there should be fine for us. And then we're also going to do the same as well. Let's just put a 5 padding there to the right. That'll push the next piece of text over. So just hit the little plus option here again. Let's add in another piece of text, and we're just going to change the actual title to be task goal date, like that. Hit the little tick there, and we're also going to want to reduce the size down to body small. We're going to change the actually I think that's probably all that we actually need to do there. Yeah, I think that sets us up quite nicely now to when we then start now binding these values to the data that comes back from Supabase as mentioned previously. So just one more small thing that we need to do with inside our application in this particular video, and let's add in the fab button. So just have our home page selected up here, hit the little plus, and then let's just choose a fab there and then just select it. And then the fab button is going to be created down the bottom right hand side, but of course there's going to be nothing in it. We're going to need to put an icon in there. So you guessed it, we need to look for icon and then just select that. And our icon by default will just be black, but we just need to change the color of that. So let's just move over to icon color, and we can choose the custom color here. We've got one called primary button text. Just press that, and then we need to change the icon up here. So just choose that and do a search for plus, and then we can choose this icon just on the side here, which is called add. So that is pretty much all that we now need to do with our user interface in this particular video. And we're going to end up getting ourselves very, very close then to start binding this into Supabase to then start seeing some real data appear within inside our application. Well, I hope you found that video particularly useful for just walking through and building out the UI. It obviously always takes a time in these particular videos and trying to walk you through creating the UI. I don't really want to leave anything out. I think it's important that you kind of see the journey unfold as we start fleshing out the UI. Of course, in the next video, if you then want to grab the link from the description, I'll put the stage of the project to where it's at the moment. Then you can then take that forward in the next video if you prefer to cut some of this out, but you've had the pleasure of obviously watching the video. Please also like the video as well. Really do appreciate all your likes that you're putting on the video, and of course if you love this type of content, please do subscribe to the channel as well. So until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.